Oh boy. All right, so let's talk about NXT Halloween Havoc, October 22nd, 2022. I'm going to bitch about Peacock, but I'm probably going to do that later. All right, so first news and notes, the only one so far, I guess. NXT deadline will be December the 10th, 2022, which is the same day as Ring of Honor's final battle. I suspect that's why there was so much negativity around this show. When I looked up to see what people were thinking about it, I suspected a lot of the negativity was going to be about NXT running the same day as Halloween as a final battle, and it being sort of cloistered in this sort of NXT is bad narrative that's been running around. But the show was okay. It was a good. I felt it was an alright show. I didn't think it was fantastic. I didn't think it was awful either. I just thought it was kind of okay. But deadline running the same day as final battle is hilarious. It seemed like that day was picked on purpose to screw with Tony Khan, because he's not taking this fucking shit. Except for he's going to take more of this shit because he's not getting that day by himself. So he's probably going to have to now. WWE are going to be running that night, while Final Battle is going to be running in the middle of the day. So I think Final Battle is 4 in the afternoon or something like that, and NXT is that night. So it's not that big of a deal, really. They're not going to be on at the same time. They're not running head to head, which means you can watch both. I mean, very weird, right? I can watch both. I'm pretty sure by the time Ring of Honor is actually over, NXT will be starting anyway, because Tony Khan likes 3-4 hour shows. So by the time Ring of Honor is over, NXT will be starting, and you can watch both if you wanted to. Now, I'm really interested in seeing what Tony Khan's response is going to be, if he has any response at all. This is the kind of thing he was talking about in the All Out Media Scrum, that WWE mistreated him. They treated him so very badly by running the same weekend he was running, and now they're doing it again. Of all the days and all of the months and all of the year, you would pick the exact same day as Tony Khan's Ring of Honor. Well, we know that this gets under their skin, so they're going to keep doing it. That's what it boils down to. All right, so let's get into this show. First, we got a cold open from Chucky, who might as well be on the roster. He's on the show so much. Then we got Shotzi. She is the Joker, and then that goddamn Quincy Elliott. He's wearing see-through sleeves. Oh, God. Let's get this out of the way early, because this wasn't the only time we saw them tonight. Shotzi came back later in the show to give the rundown of all the things we saw thus far. She's wearing a Beetlejuice costume, which, had a little booty hanging out, not bad. She's kind of hot, got the little goth girl stuff going on. She seemed a lot more comfortable on the microphone doing this than whenever she has to cut a promo on SmackDown. And then she brings out Quincy Elliott, who is a banana. Vic Joseph says that Quincy Elliott is here to quench everybody's thirst, to which Booker T says, "I don't know about you, dog. Quench your thirst, maybe, but not everyone." He is not a fan of the Quincy Elliott experience, which we all knew he wouldn't be. Most people aren't. This, of course, got Booker T called homophobe on Twitter by a couple of people, because he's not playing a heel. He's not a heel. He just kind of responds to how he responds to things. Sometimes he's okay with the heels cheating. Sometimes he's not. In this situation, he's not okay with the giant banana. He's not a fan. Lash Legend interrupts our dear sister in Christ, Lash Legend. Once again, looks like a drag queen. Why do they keep doing this to her? I've seen pictures of Lash Legend that she posted herself on like Instagram or something like that, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, where she looks perfectly fine. She's a beautiful woman. Why, as soon as she gets on TV, she looks like a dude in drag? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Why are they doing that? Is it her doing it? Because it's not good. It's not good. So the show went into the ditch right here, because Lash Legend is arguing with Quincy Elliott, and it sounds like some Love and Hip Hop shit with the girl uh-uhs and sweethearts and all that kind of stuff. The shade, as they call it, where every disc comes with a backhanded compliment. It's awful. So Lash Legend is upset that Shotzi is hosting the show and not her, which is within Lash Legend's character. Quincy Elliott reminds Lash Legend that Lashing Out has been canceled, and she's not as fabulous as Shotzi or himself. They get into a bit of an argument before Shotzi takes over and gives Lash Legend a DDT. It was all very shitty. All very cringe. This Quincy Elliott thing, it ain't working. Look, I know people have said Quincy Elliott is drawing more. He drew more than the AEW World Champion. I wouldn't give a fuck if that dude drew snow to the polar ice caps. I don't want him on TV. I'm not interested. I ain't interested. He could draw fucking fire to the sun. I'm not interested. All right? Not interested. Shotzi is fine. I am unhappy, however, that Shotzi is going to be wrestling Lash Legend on Tuesday. I ain't happy about that one. Mainly because I think something's bad's going to happen to Shotzi. I'm so concerned that Shotzi's going to get waylaid in the head and knocked unconscious or some crazy stuff like that. Look, maybe Lash Legend is probably better off as a manager. She's not a very good in-ring worker. And her microphone skills really aren't even all that good either. But I'm trying to be positive because I've already dissed how she looks. So I'm trying to be positive about something about her. What can I find about Lash Legend that's actually good, that's worth talking about? I'm struggling. I crammed to find something positive about Lash Legend to talk about. So guess what? We're just going to skip it. Just like Quincy Elliott, I have nothing positive to say about Lash Legend this week. I'm so sorry to tell it. Maybe our dear sister in Christ, Lash Legend, will actually look good next week or Tuesday or whatever she's going to appear again because she missed the mark. She's been 1 for 15 or something like that so far. She's been on this show a bunch of times. She's looked good on this show probably once or twice. Every other time she looks like a drag queen. That's not fair. Do something. Do better. Speaking of a desire to do better. First match. Ladder match, North American Championship. Nathan Fraser, Carmelo Hayes, Wesley, Von Wagner, Oro Mensah. Trick Williams wearing a captain's hat and a smoker's robe, which looks familiar, but I can't really put my finger on it. I'm guessing it's supposed to be Hugh Hefner. I'm guessing. Anyway, there was a spot in this match in which Von Wagner snatched a ladder from under the ring, wasn't paying attention to how long the ladder was, and either he hit the fan or he nearly hit the fan with a ladder. Boy. Oh, God. It would be Von Wagner, too, wouldn't it? He is just coming along swimmingly as the next Jack Swagger. The carelessness, the big body, small brain. Now, I'm not going to say it was 100% his fault because, he underestimated how long the ladder was actually going to be. But that fan, almost got themselves a pretty good WWE lawsuit out of this deal. Almost. All right. So Trick Williams tried to help by dumping Oro Mensah off the ladder. Well, it was a really ugly spot. Glad that Oro actually made it because he nearly didn't. There was another point in the match with Rob Stone and Trick Williams were up on top of the ladder. It was very silly with Rob Stone hitting Trick Williams with a shoe. That was pretty silly. Von Wagner bench pressing Wes Lee, running across the ring and just tossing him to the announce table was insane. That was an insane spot. And there's no reason for Wes Lee to have won the match after that. But he did. He won the match anyway. Now, everybody knows how I feel about Wes Lee. He's incredibly boring. There's no functional difference between him and Oro Mensah. There really is no difference. What is the difference between the two of them? They're both somewhat skinny, athletically built black males. There really is no difference between the two of them. Both high energy baby faces. There's no difference between the two. I'm fine with Wes Lee winning if he was unique. I felt like there was a uniqueness to his presentation, but it's not. So I am just going to continue my hatred of MSK. I thought they were boring. I thought they sucked. They were just flippy dudes. This is more of the same. You know, maybe he'll actually develop a personality at some point, but he ain't done it yet. I was not a fan of putting it back on Carmelo Hayes, so I'm glad he didn't win it back. But there really was no good choice once you say, okay, Carmelo Hayes doesn't need it again. They didn't leave you with much. Von Wagner's one of the worst people in the business right now. Oro Mensah is incredibly boring, no personality whatsoever, flippy dude. Nathan Fraser is the same thing except white skinned, and Wesley is the twin of Oro Mensah, just athletically built, skinny black dude. There is nothing here outside of Carmelo Hayes who has like charisma or swag or, you know, promo ability or presence or anything like that. This is all Shawn Michaels' fault. I did see that absolute cringe hug between him and Wesley. It was absolute cringe. I don't know why he had to embrace him thusly, why he had to bring him so close, why their foreheads had to touch each other's. I have no idea why they had to do any of that. It all looked very uncomfortable. But Wesley wins his first singles championship ever according to NXT. I know he was in Impact for a long time, but he only won the tag team titles there. He never won a singles belt. Here's hoping that the kid actually develops a personality and we get to go somewhere with this. Otherwise, it's all a waste of time. You know, it's all a waste of time if nothing comes of it. You got to find a personality. All right, casket match. Grayson Waller versus Apollo Crews. I did not watch the kickoff show, so I did not know why this was a casket match. But apparently they had a spin the wheel, make the deal match. And when they spun the wheel, it came up as a casket match. Casket matches without The Undertaker. I mean, come on. Why would you do that? Well, and I feel like we've seen this a bunch of times already because I know AEW did 2 or 3 of them this year already. So we've seen a bunch of casket matches. It was decent, I guess. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fantastic or awesome either. There's a sign that says Waller likes anime women. And I'm just saying to myself, you don't have to bring our waifus into it. Leave the waifus out of this. All right? Just leave the waifus alone. Now, when they did a sort of a dusty finish where Grayson Waller knocked Apollo Crews off the top of the top rope. Apollo Crews falls through the casket into the casket, and the referee has to wave it off because Grayson Waller thinks that he's won, and other people have also thought that okay, well he's in the casket, therefore Grayson Waller wins, without paying attention to the rules that you have to put him in the casket and close the lid. In this situation, Apollo Crews broke the lid, so they needed a new casket. Lights turn off, new casket comes out. Booker T starts talking about how the new casket is double wide and double deep, that it has pillows and a jacuzzi in it. Booker T is a fucking gem. A fucking gem. Anyway, Apollo Crews wins with an elevated spine buster into the casket. Okay. Whatever. What the fuck ever. Not a bad match. Not a great match. Just kind of a fun little match. It wasn't too bad. All right, so then we got a mini movie of Toxic Attraction going into a haunted house to find and thrash Alba Fire. They were challenged to come to a haunted castle in order to get them a piece of Alba Fire. So they decided to do it. Now, I saw this get ripped a lot too. A lot of people hated this. I didn't mind it. The acting wasn't great, but this is wrestling. This ain't goddamn Hollywood. It ain't Broadway. But I liked it because I liked the characters, being individualized. And I'm going to be okay with that. JC Jane specifically was scared and did not want to go into the haunted house. Gigi Dolan didn't want to go in either, but after seeing that JC was scared, she decided to, she's going to go in. Mandy, of course, is not only not scared, but she sees this as an opportunity to get this title match eliminated by just going in there and beating up Alba Fire. So that's what they plan to do. They kind of force JC Jane to go. And as they're in the house, they can't find her. There's ghosts and all kind of monsters and shit in there. People with masks on and all kinds of creepy stuff. They get into an argument about splitting up. Because JC Jane has seen enough horror movies to know not to split up. They're telling her that she's just scared. She's, but they're going to take care of her. And that they're just going to have to go find Alba Fire and everything's going to be all right. That's all they got to do. So they split up. They start walking through the house. JC Jane, as she's walking through the house with her flashlight, she's actually apologizing to Alba Fire about everything she's ever said and done to her, which is hilarious shit. She's walking through the house talking about, "I'm so sorry, Alba. I take back anything mean I said to you." She gets, of course, abducted. We can't call them kids. They didn't get kidnapped. They got abducted. She got abducted and whatever. Gigi Dolan isn't scared. She's walking around. She ends up finding Chucky, who again is on this roster again. She's chilling with Chucky. She's in there kicking her legs up. Everything's all good. They're about to have a drink or a party or whatever. She doesn't even notice that Alba Fire is behind her until Alba Fire attacks her. Then they get into a little bit of a scuffle where Gigi Dolan ends up in the refrigerator, which is hilarious. And there's a concept in comic books called fridging. It is what happens when characters, specifically female characters, are killed off in order to create motivations for the male hero. This was something that came from Gail Simone. And it came from, I believe it was a Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, whose girlfriend was killed and stuffed in a refrigerator. And so basically anytime a girlfriend type of character is killed off, it's called fridging. So I feel like it's very interesting that they chose to put Gigi Dolan, female character, in a refrigerator. It was pretty funny. Now, I thought let's continue before I get into what I thought about it. Mandy Rose is, of course, still looking for Alba Fire. She eventually finds her when Alba jumped her from behind. They got into a fight, and once more, Mandy Rose is abducted into a car. She's dragged to a car, and Toxic Attraction tried to help her, but they got beat with bats. This bat, despite the fact that it's a bat, apparently doesn't do nearly enough because she hit them with this bat 100 times. And their little motto, JC Jane's little motto, is that there's Toxic Attraction and then there's everyone else. So then Alba Fire flips it by saying, "I'm not everyone else." So I thought that was pretty cool. That leads us to the championship match, Mandy Rose versus Alba Fire, which was the co-main event. Alba Fire was dominant at first. There was no entrances because they had Alba Fire just pull up in her car and dump Mandy Rose out of it and then drag her to the ring, which is what she planned to do anyway. They had a short match in which, of course, Alba Fire was dominant. And then on the 3 count to the Swanton, I believe it was, Toxic Attraction grabbed the ref, pulled him out of the ring, which should have been a disqualification, but it wasn't. At that point, Alba Fire goes out there. They get into a little bit of a scuffle. She knocks them down again. She hits the gory bomb on Mandy Rose. There's no referee. Then Toxic Attraction hit a move. I think it's something like the Eliminator's total elimination on the floor. She's tossed back into the ring, kiss from the rose by Mandy Rose, and then she's pinned. The match was pretty short, but it was fine. I thought the reason that they were doing the haunted house stuff was a way for Alba Fire to get rid of JC and Gigi so that they couldn't interfere in this match. This is what I thought. I was definitely surprised to see that, not really all that surprised to see that they interfered anyway. A lot of people are very upset that Mandy Rose won. There's even now people making certain comments about Mandy Rose, about how she might be doing, let's put it in quotations, favors in order to keep this title reign running, even though it seems perfectly fine to me that Alba Fire probably just wasn't going to be the girl that's going to beat her, and I didn't see that anyway. I thought that maybe it might happen, because if not her, then who? But there's also, you got to put over a younger talent, and I think that Alba Fire is in the same age group as Mandy Rose. So it really wouldn't do her any favors. It wouldn't be elevating a new young talent for Mandy Rose to lose to Alba Fire. But Alba Fire is infinitely more interesting now than when she was Kaylee Ray. Kaylee Ray she was boring. All right, that's the worst thing about it. She had good matches, but she was kind of boring. But she threw herself into this Alba Fire thing, and it's actually fun. The baseball bat, this sort of Avenger, spirit of vengeance kind of ancestral thing that she's got going on. That could be fun, and it could be fun on SmackDown, which is where I think she's going to end up going. So I think that's going to be great. But I think it's absolutely time for Alba Fire to leave NXT. So she's been at NXT since 2020. She hasn't won this title yet, and she's probably never going to win it. So it must be time to go. All right. I know that's what we say all the time about NXT, that every time somebody loses, it's time for them to leave. But I think that once you hit a ceiling in NXT, it's time to leave. Because what is there left for her to do? She can't get over the toxic attraction hump. She's lost to them 2 or 3 times already. It's time to go, It's time to leave. I think it probably would have been smarter if it was actually Sonya Deville that screwed over Alba Fire. That way Alba Fire could chase her to SmackDown, and that way she'll leave. But that's also what I thought too. I had that second thought. My first thought was, of course, they're going to do the Haunted House thing. Gigi's going to be locked in the refrigerator. JC's going to be locked somewhere in the house. And so Mandy's going to have to fight by herself. And in doing so, the only person who wasn't captured was Sonya Deville. And she was going to be the one that was going to do the damage. And Mandy was going to win. Unfortunately, they didn't go that route. I don't know why they didn't, but they didn't. A lot of the stuff they did previously just didn't seem to stick when it comes to this. All right, so there was a Chase U segment where Andre Chase was very disappointed in his class in their Halloween Havoc knowledge. Introduced a new transfer student by the name of Duke Hudson. It is the Duke Hudson, 6'5", had to dodge punches from his boyfriend Jake Atlas. Duke Hudson, whatever. Duke Hudson is at least okay in terms of charisma and personality. Bodie hates transfer students, which I don't understand how he hates transfer students. Wasn't Nathan Fraser a transfer student to Chase U? But he hasn't done any more segments with them. Why? Who forgot? That's what I want to know. Who forgot? Was it you, Sean? Did you forget? Did you forget that you put Nathan Fraser in Chase U and then you just didn't do anything else? I'm pretty sure Saray was also in Chase U too, didn't she? She was hanging out with them too, wasn't she? I'm pretty sure Nathan Fraser was. I'm not that sure about Saray. But whatever. Andre Chase asked a question about Halloween Havoc, to which Bodie got it wrong, and he got showed up by Duke Hudson, who actually knew the question. Andre Chase wants Bodie to focus and to hunker down and do better on his studies, but he doesn't trust Duke. Bodie doesn't, and neither does Andre Chase for some reason, even though he let him into class. This is very weird. But it's okay. At least they're doing something with Duke Hudson. At least he's doing something. Third match, Weapons Wild. Cora Jade defeated by Roxanne Perez. This match was fun. I think this was probably the best match up to this point. It was still pretty weird. The big spot was off the balcony. But I did enjoy the swing spot. Cora Jade, who is small herself, swinging the even smaller Roxanne Perez, bouncing her head off of the barricades. I thought that was pretty cool. Their dialogue to each other in the ring could probably use some work, but they're rookies. Both of them have been on the roster less than a year. So I think Cora Jade might have been a little over a year, but I know Roxanne has been on the roster less than a year. We give them some time to get it together. But they fight. Cora Jade tries to run away. She scampers up through the crowd. Roxanne Perez chases her. They end up on that big balcony that hangs over the NXT arena. They are fighting, and Cora Jade removes the rail and moves it to the side. It looks like she's going to throw Roxanne Perez off of the balcony through the table. Roxanne fights back. Then she starts pausing. It's like this really awkward pause as she's punching, I guess, forearm shivers, whatever that she's doing to Cora Jade. And Cora Jade looks like she's trying to fall, arms and everything. And then Roxanne just kind of holds on, doesn't let her fall. So then she grabs Cora. She got pulled by Cora. This was the awkward part because I'm not so sure what happened. She hesitated on the punch that probably would have knocked Cora off of the balcony. And then she got grabbed or grabbed her or however that went. And they both went off the balcony through the table. And I was like, okay. Okie dokie. I didn't really care for that part. But the finish came with the code red on a stack of chairs. Roxanne Perez wins. It was very cute for, of course, Booker T to be talking about his student, Roxanne Perez. And he didn't shy away from her being his student either. In fact, he talked earlier in the match about this match being Cora Jade's specialty because, she was trained by some different people and it was a different thing. And this isn't what Roxanne learned in reality of wrestling. That's for damn sure. So it was fine. Cora, they're 1-1 now, I believe. They probably got to have some kind of blow-off match. I'm guessing it's going to be some kind of loser leaves NXT thing because there's a lot of people talking already about Roxanne Perez being called up. I think it's too soon. But I don't know. What do I know? There was a burning mask segment that popped up. Everybody knows that this is T-Bar's mask, which is going to bring back Dominic Chokakovich, one of the most boring, shitty wrestlers ever. I don't give a fuck about his ability to do moves. He's boring. His personality is a dry pretzel stick, but no salt or butter or nothing. It's just there. It's present. This dude is the shits. And I know that, Triple H thinks there's something special about him. There's a bunch of people online who think that there's something special about this fucking guy. There's nothing. I promise you. We're not missing a damn thing with him not being on the show. We're not missing anything by not having Dijak on the show. I promise you. He's not missed. He's not missed at all. Speaking of which, we got a Schism promo. Schism said that people wear masks all year long, not all year long, not just on Halloween. And they've been trying to get people to remove those masks, but they're not asking anymore. They're going to do it by force. Then they asked the masked woman who was with them if she's ready to remove her mask, which she says yes. And they said, well, Tuesday is going to be the day everybody sees Schism in full force. Then they said that there are 4 roots, 1 tree, and they put on the happy face masks, which seemed to be a call to Joe Gacy doing stuff in, what was this, CZW that he was in? A lot of people, I specifically saw quite a few people, and I've seen this every time they popped up, that everybody hates Schism because everybody hates the Joe Gacy character because he's making fun of liberals. But they want the Grizzled Young Veterans back. And I was saying, like, do we all just... Look, I was a big fan of the Grizzled Young Veterans. People who's been on this channel for a long time, you know this. But it was unmistakable that they got nothing but crickets when they came out outside of the UK. In the UK, they were super over. They were chanting at Zach Gibson all day. It was great. But then they came to the United States. And Grizzled Young Veterans was not over. Did not get a reaction. And nobody cared. This is what the 3rd gimmick they've had. They did Grizzled Young Veterans. They didn't get over. It didn't work. Then they tried doing the old the hustling thing that they were doing, where they were trying to figure out how to make money or whatever the hell they were trying to do. And they came up with all these ideas about, selling stuff or stealing stuff or whatever, being hooligans or whatever the fuck it was. It didn't last very long and it was stupid. But none of that stuff got them over. Now, Schism actually gets somewhat of a reaction. People actually talk about it. They might not like it, but at least they're talking about it. And people are just kind of like, nah, just make a boring again. Like, no, boring is not good. Boring is too safe. No. There's been years of Grizzled Young Veterans. They've been doing this for years already. For Christ's sake, let's do something else with these fucking guys. So I'm okay with Schism. As long as it goes in the direction that Gacy probably wants to go into, which is they're going to be more hardcore kind of wrestlers, more violent, I'm okay with that. And if that's the direction they're going into, I'm cool with it. So there was also an ambulance match. Julius Creed versus Damon Kemp. The rules were if Julius loses, then Brutus is actually forced out of NXT. This match was very solid. There was nothing offensive about it, nothing amazing either. It was just a hard-hitting, physical match between two sort of big guys. I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it. But it was nothing, over the top. Nothing too fantastic, if we're being honest. Solid match. Julius Creed wins, which was the right decision. So Damon Kemp got tossed into an ambulance and got pinned. It's just nothing negative to say about it, but I ain't got that much positive to say about it either. They were just kind of going hard on each other, and it was a fun watch. That was it. No huge spots. Where nobody fell off of anything or set anybody on fire or anything like that. So it kind of was what it was. But so that was it. All right, main event, NXT Championship, Ilya Dragunov, JD McDonough, Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker wins despite crowd reactions and with a spear on Ilya Dragunov. Braun got a special entrance where he broke the headstones of Ilya and JD McDonough. There's quite a few big spots in here. Some of my favorites was the Hurricane Rana into the sit-out powerbomb, which is a wild spot. But I preferred, a much better spot, which would be the Torpedo Moscow, in which Ilya Dragunov had Braun Breaker pinned. But on the 3 count, JD McDonough caught the referee's hand, which was, I think, is a great spot. It has excellent timing along to it. Because that would have been easy to screw up. So that was good. The crowd chanted, "This is awesome," but they were also not very happy with Braun Breaker, even before the match or even afterwards. They were not happy with him at all. They're starting to turn on him. I'm not surprised that happened. Mainly because of, in the lead up to this, there was an article put out by, I don't know who it was. But the article was Bill Goldberg doing an interview, which he said that Braun Breaker is a lot like himself, or he's basically me. Was Goldberg's actually words, and we know that Goldberg was so dominant that people started to turn on him eventually, and it's actually what's happening right now with Braun Breaker, because the people wanted Ilya Dragunov to win. He was their favorite in this match, and this is why it shouldn't have been a triple threat match to begin with. It should have just been a singles match between him and Ilya Dragunov. He still would have gotten booed. He still would have got people upset with him. But at least it would have been Braun wrestled this guy one-on-one and got the win. One of my main issues is that it seems like the NXT UK guys, since they've come in, they've just been fed to Braun Breaker, and that's been it. Or they've been fed to whoever these guys are. Briggs and Jensen or whoever, Pretty Deadly or whatever. And then they go away. It's exactly what happened with Kaylee Ray. She came in, immediately started getting fed to people despite her run. And then that was just kind of it. The NXT UK talent is not treated like they're on the same level as NXT. And I know a lot of people who do watch NXT UK, they are aggravated by that. Me, I wouldn't say I'm aggravated by it, but it's interesting to see. So Ilya Dragunov doing the job for Braun Breaker is what it is. I'm not too upset by it, but I can see why people would be. And the NXT, to be quite honest, NXT UK talent have distracted a lot from NXT. They don't really add that much, and that's Shawn Michaels' fault again for not forcing these people to have characters and personas. Now, Ilya Dragunov does have one, in terms of being like this super intense Russian fighting machine. That's his persona, that's his realm, which is why it would have been better for him to be the contender one-on-one with Braun Breaker rather than this silly triple threat idea. I'm almost never going to say a triple threat match is a good idea anyway, so you feel free to pay me no mind on that. But by not giving Braun any real rivals, by Braun not really having much in the way of a character, despite how much I like him, him just kind of being a generic badass athlete, that's not really going to go for it in the long term, especially when he's surrounded by pretty cool characters and gimmicks and stuff. He's got to have something. I don't know what that would be. I wouldn't put like a jester's hat on him or something stupid like that, but he's got to be able to do more than what he's doing right now, especially if you're going to keep the belt on him for the long term. There was no Austin Theory cash in, so that was a pump fake for no reason, unless they're going to do it on NXT TV, which they might, they might. But I already had a fit about Austin Theory jumping ship to NXT to cash in on Braun Breaker. The only positive would be that NXT is incredibly stale at the top because Braun is beating everybody. That Austin Theory coming in and smashing the goddamn briefcase over his head and beating him would be interesting. And the matches between the two of them would be pretty good. And Austin Theory on the microphone would be pretty good. But generally speaking, him winning the Money in the Bank just to cash in on the NXT is garbage. And it's foolish. It's stupid. But it would at least make NXT far more interesting because now we have nothing. He's beaten JD McDonough. He's beaten Ilya Dragunov. He's beaten, what was that guy? Tyler Bate. There's nobody left for NXT UK for him to beat. All the Gallus boys are gone, apparently. They're quote-unquote suspended. So they have no opponents for him. Tony D'Angelo is hurt. Who's next? Now, earlier in the evening, they did talk about maybe Apollo Crews being the next opponent because Apollo Crews, they said it was an unofficial number one contenders match between Apollo Crews and Grayson Waller. Like, the winner has to be in contention for the title, am I right? And it was like, yeah, it kind of has to be that way, doesn't it? So maybe that's what direction they're going in. But Apollo Crews is not the guy. I'm sorry. He's not the same Apollo Crews as he was on the main roster. He's not as fun. He's not as interesting. He's been standing around doing nothing for weeks. It's just, I don't know. It needs to be a dastardly cutthroat heel. Somebody for Braun Breaker to feud with. Not just have a match with, win or lose. But somebody that he can have a true to God feud with. And I'm not sure Apollo Crews is going to be that guy. It can be Grayson Waller. It could be Austin Theory. It could be Tony D'Angelo. It could be some of those kinds of guys. But Apollo Crews, it can't be. Not only because he's also a babyface, but I don't see Apollo Crews being able to carry him through a feud. Now, just on the fly, something that I think will probably be fun is a Grayson Waller, Austin Theory partnership. I think those two as characters working together would be excellent. That's another one of the good reasons, something that you could have on NXT that might be fun. I just think that there's something between the two of them that might actually have good chemistry and that might actually work. But so that was NXT. It was a fine show. There was nothing negative to say about it except the Quincy Elliott stuff. And maybe you didn't like the mini movie, the Toxic Attraction movie, even though I didn't hate it either. The matches were, some of them were just there, like the ambulance match. Like, if you didn't care about the story going into it, you probably wouldn't have cared about that match at all. I cared. I liked the story going into it. I liked the guys that were in it. Do I need to see it again? Not really. Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, same thing. Not a bad match at all. But you have to care about the characters that's going into it. Alba Fire getting jobbed out. I know that frustrated a lot of people. Same thing with Ilya Dragunov losing. I'm not surprised by either one of those decisions, so it didn't really bother me that much. So it's real, It just is what it is. It'll end when it ends. Mandy Rose is going to get her year as NXT Women's Champion. So take that, you hosers. So my hatred of Peacock is running rampant because I tried to restart this show right after the show aired. The show was only 2 hours and 30 minutes. For some reason, Peacock was still showing other things. and I couldn't restart the show. I'm like, what the fuck? Why can't you just restart this show at the beginning? Like, I can't believe that the network, the WWE network, which was more expensive than Peacock, you could, if you started the show at 10:30 in the middle of the show, you could restart the show from the beginning and watch it. This fucking shit, you can't even go back that far. So you can't watch the show from the beginning. So I had to wake up the next day to watch the show because they kept running fucking Dinner for Three or whatever the fuck they were running, and I couldn't watch the fucking show all over again. By the time they stopped doing whatever the fuck they were doing, it was midnight. I'm like, this show ended at 10:30. This show ended at 10:30. 2 hours fucking later, I cannot stop watch the show again. What the fuck? Peacock fucking sucks. It is an absolute garbage tier platform. Fuck Peacock. Right? Fuck them hard. Right? No rubber. Give them monkeypox. Fuck Peacock. But the show was fine. The show was okay. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.